Hey man, how's it going today?
Hello. Howdy doody. Pretty good.
Howdy doody. Is that your new catchphrase, huh? Are we are
Gonna
we
try
shop
and make it
are
that
we shopping
every
that?
time. Yeah, yeah, every time we play this from now on, I'm gonna do howdy doody.
Uh
Or
well,
oh crap, I can't remember that British hippy tippy top top or something like that. I can't remember what it is.
top of the morning to you. Well, it's Irish, but yeah.
That might have been it, but I
Is that what you're
completely
thinking?
butchered it.
You did.
Yeah.
You absolutely did. But that's okay. Actually, well, speaking of catchphrases, welcome, of course, to episode two, Mars University. We get in the cold open of this episode, we get the professor doing his catchphrase, his brand new,
Good
so
news,
to speak,
everyone.
yeah, so to speak, brand new catchphrase. But he hasn't said it that much yet because there's only been like 10 episodes prior. So
This is the
here he
11th one, I
is.
believe. We're on episode 11 right now.
No, I think it's 10, right? Because it's 9 episodes, 10. Oh, sorry, we're on the, yeah, sorry, you're right. We're on the 11th episode, but 10
Yeah.
episodes prior to this episode, right? And he only says it like maybe twice, I want to say.
Oh, who can
But
remember? It's his catchphrase from henceforth on.
yes. And of course, this one leads right into our main plot of the show. So that's pretty good. And professor comes in pushing along a box with noises coming out of it, and it has to be delivered to himself on the as aforementioned titled Mars University. Because of course the professor is a professor and he does teach, despite what he might say later in the episode. Um, Now, of course,
Yes.
we know this already, but in the box is going to be his prize experiment, which is, of course, Gunter the monkey that he's going to be changing into. But um, interesting part when after the cold open ends and they're off to go to Mars University. Did you notice the intro of the
Yeah, it was on.
episode?
It said sap,
No, no,
which
no.
is
Well,
like
sorry. Well, the yes, the intro said I have it written down here. Transmitido in Martian and SAP, which I believe is translated to like transmitted in both Martian and Espanol.
English.
Yeah,
Oh, it's right
English
there.
and stuff. But that was the point. That's like the little catchphrase at the bottom, right? But no, the actual intro theme music.
It's different.
Yeah. I don't know how many times they do that throughout the series, but this is the
I think
first
there's
time.
like four times they do it. Four, and
Yeah,
that's including the new seasons. I'm not
right.
including the movies though because I don't think they do
That
it in
doesn't
the
count. No,
movies.
in the movies they change it completely. The first one has like the longest one, and then all the other ones have like a remix of
Yeah, right. Yeah,
sorts.
yeah.
Yeah.
They also have like introducing these new characters who get shown up in the background
Yeah. That
once.
was the first one, right? Yeah.
Now,
I don't
if I
know.
remember correctly,
Yeah. Don't know
I
why.
could be very wrong here, but whenever you had like the old tube TVs, we'll say I don't know if the new TVs have it because I don't really mess around too much because I might make it in Korean or Spanish and I don't know how to read those languages.
With the
But
SAP,
like
the SAP. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, with SAP, like
Yeah.
there was different settings and stuff like that, and sometimes it would like kind of like reverse the sound effects basically. So instead of being loud, like the talking would be loud, you'd hear it.
Oh, I think it
So
was
I think that's
well that's the volume. You're
no, no,
talking
no,
about the
no, no.
volume,
But it would be
but
different. You could hear the
changes
background noises
something.
louder
Yeah.
than the primary noise, and
So
I
I
think
think
that's what this is.
sure. Well, I think that's in the settings of those old TVs. I think even the new ones still have stuff like this, but in the TVs and their settings, they have it where you have like I think it's like reverb and remix and maybe not
There you go. Those are the
remix, but
words I was looking for.
other ones like this. But yeah, there's things that change. But SAP I think was specifically for different languages, if I'm not
Yeah.
mistaken.
What does SAP stand for?
I believe it was for the Spanish one. But yeah, I was gonna double check that and I kind of forgot myself, but in any case, different theme. Any idea why they would have a different intro theme for the episode, or is it just for fun, just to change it up a little bit? Do you think?
Well, I don't know. Those guys are Harvard people. I'm just a lowly little street urchin.
But
They're
I
probably
doubt.
trying to do something fun.
Well, I doubt they would have done it for. Well, maybe they just want to do something different. Maybe. But is it also because it doesn't take place in their normal setting? But I guess in Futurama they don't really have a normal setting. They can go into space and do random stuff all the time. So yeah, I don't know. Any case, the crew is of course heading to Mars University. Um, here's a question for you. Do you know what it says on the without checking, obviously, do you know what it says on their gates when they're opening? Like what the motto of Mars University is?
Oh, I just watched a video on this like last week or something. That was like one of those. Did you know? I can't remember what it means. Like, but they did change it because at a certain point, during the series, they crash into it and they have to rebuild a new one, and the new one says
Hmm.
kind of if I remember, does it say like you will fail?
That's not a bad guess. It's knowledge brings fear.
That was what it was.
Knowledge
And then I
brings
think the other,
fear.
then
Yeah.
I think once it got knocked down and got brought back up and rebuilt, it said like
Hmm.
knowledge is triumphant or something close like that. I can't remember,
Right.
but it's very funny the continuity. Oh God, continuity. Is that the word I was looking for?
Continuity of it.
Continuity.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Continuity. Sorry,
Yeah. I think it's
English is a
changed.
hard
Yeah.
language, guys. Even if you speak it all your life. Um, the continuity of the show is very, very smart and very wise. You don't see that as much anymore. There'll be like little things that just like, but that person said this way back then that they're allergic to peanut butter, but you see them here having a peanut butter sandwich. What the hell?
What the?
And
Yeah. Exactly.
yeah, no
Yeah.
one
No.
ever acknowledges it.
Well, I think that's what we've always talked about with this show is that the continuity was kind of paid attention to, except for very minor things, which we do talk about. We will talk about in the future,
Oh yeah,
such as last episode, right? Where what was I mentioning before with uh, now I'm forgetting what it was, but there was oh right, with Kif and meeting Amy through Amy's parents. But then in the
yeah.
future, Amy's parents don't like Kif, right? Because they're like, oh, we instantly dislike him, even though because they've never met him, but
They
of course
met
they
him.
have
Yeah,
met him.
they
They
met him.
introduced them.
Yeah.
So that's a bit of an issue, but I mean, very, very minor for the most part. It doesn't have a lot of major consequences for anything. But sorry, just going back to that SAP thing we were talking about, right? So this actually it's secondary audio programming. So secondary audio programming, of course, being that of whatever the second language is that's programmed within the TV. So it could be French or Spanish. I think most of the time the United States was Spanish. Um, and then Martian, of course, because Martian is its own language, which we learn about in the future, but that's another thing. In any case, knowledge brings fear, and Mars University is actually a prime spot for some of the major characters because we know that the professor works here as like a part-time position. Amy is also a student here as a PhD student for her was it physics, isn't it? Because she works under the professor.
Yeah.
Um, the Mars University itself has similar designs to like Harvard and either Ivy League, other
Greek,
Ivy League
Greek. It looks very
colleges.
Greekish with a lot
Yeah,
of
yeah,
columns and
had
stuff
some
like
of that
that.
stuff.
And
Yeah, yeah, that's
there was
typical of
there was a
those. Yeah.
statue, wasn't it, that that walked by? It was probably some kind of Confederate alien.
Well, I was gonna say, isn't that Brano? Well, I was gonna ask about
No,
where's Brano because that shows up in the future
he
too.
was
Isn't that part of
president.
Mars? Isn't that part of Mars University? I thought it
Oh my
was.
God, you're right though. That does look very sim. It does because
Yeah,
Brano wasn't a Morbo, was
he
he?
wasn't
He
Morbo.
wasn't
No,
a
he was
Morbo
just a
alien.
giant brain. I'm pretty sure, or not like the actual giant brain, but I'm pretty sure he was a guy with a giant head, and I thought that was Brano. So I thought that was like
Yeah,
an earlier working of Brano, but I'm not sure. You're probably right though. It's probably some kind of like
no, I don't think this is Brano because Brano didn't
yeah.
have like bat ears. He didn't have tentacle arms, or he did have
Oh,
that
okay,
Morbo-ish head, but it wasn't quite the same thing because this one's
sure,
heart shaped, the statue.
right, right.
I'm pretty sure there's some significance to it at some point if you go through all the Futurama
We
Wikipedias and stuff like that.
we might see it
But
again. Well, something
yeah,
that you and I talked about even off mic was just like uh this place, Mars University, is rarely seen, if not that one time where they have to get maybe
no,
they
I
deliver
know.
one thing. Like when else do we ever see Mars University?
The cat attack episode, the
Right.
new
Sorry. Yeah,
series.
you're right. There you go. With and that's the
Yeah,
only because
I'm
Amy
pretty
has
sure
a
you see it
class.
at least three times in one of the
Yeah.
movies, I think, because
You
they go to
see it, but it's
Mars.
part of the actual
Yeah,
episode. I'm
yeah,
not sure,
they
right?
go to
But yeah.
Mars like what, like around maybe 10 times. I highly doubt that, but like more than
Yeah.
around four-ish, 4 or 5-ish times they go to Mars. So it's
Yeah.
got to be seen in the background or at least mentioned.
Well, if they
So
go to
because it's I
Mars,
totally forget about this because
yeah,
but Amy's been is technically a student or undergrad the entire freaking seasons and
all the
stuff like that,
seasons.
which is
Yeah.
hilarious. Yeah.
Well, in the last one with Mars, where she with the cats, that's when she gets her
Yeah.
PhD. So everything else before that, yeah, she's still a student. And I think the professor even makes a joke like, you could have graduated years ago, but I just liked having you around or something.
Because you have the
But
same blood type as me. Yeah.
right, but everything with Mars is only ever with Mars University or with the Wongs, and it's usually with the Wongs. So yeah, it's
Usually, yes.
and speaking of Wong, of course, we also get to see Wong Library, which I guess is probably named after Amy's parents because they keep donating to the university or to the university.
Well, also in the title card that I did, I think
Yeah.
it's underneath my character.
Yeah, that's
It says
her one,
KKW,
right?
Kappa
Yeah.
Kappa Wong, and
Kappa
then
Wong.
I think
Yeah, Kappa Kappa
Kappa
Wong. Yeah.
Kappa Wong, yeah.
Yeah.
And then the other one, oh crap, I forget it off the top of my head, but it's the one, it's the sorority that Bender was a part
It's
of.
okay. I have it here. It's actually the next
Yeah,
thing because he sees his old fraternity house, which is Epsilon Rho Rho. I got you covered. Don't worry.
thank
Which,
you,
of
Epsilon
course,
Row Row.
is ERR, which wonderful
Error.
joke here. Wonderful joke. Error. Yeah. But error that you would see on a machine, right? Because they don't put the O in there, right? So it's just the yeah,
The
ERR,
OR.
error. Yeah. So error on the machines there. And then Bender, we learned that Bender also is a college student or a college graduate, but something basic, of course. Went to bending school, majored in bending. His minor, Robo-American Studies. So, he's also a historically worldly man in some ways.
Which is
Now,
why he's
this
so pro robo-ness.
pro-robot, right? Yeah, very much
Pro
so.
robot.
The interesting thing here as well is that when we see a kind of a flashback of Bender, quote unquote, growing up, because he's only 4 years old, he has this he goes through a little, what is it,
Conveyor belt.
conveyor
Like
belt, and then they program
assembly
college
line.
into him.
Assembly line.
Yeah. And they program college into him and even like put on the cap, they throw it for him, they give him the thing. He's like now to bend around Europe for a little while. Like that's in another episode. So there's another continuity thing. But you could
That was one of the newer ones, wasn't it? And like
no
in my opinion, the writing staff was different. Like it felt very different from like the first season to 5 seasons to the last 2 seasons. Because wasn't
no,
that the
I
one
think
where him and Hermes went on an
nope.
adventure?
Nope, that's when he's a really young baby, which is also another continuity thing. But no, this is actually in the original seasons. That's something in there because they talk about that. He's like, I'm a precocious little scamp, ain't I? This is another episode in the future. I'm blanking on what happens in the plot, but he does all this
Yeah,
kind of stuff, and that was
ever since you
planned in there.
told me that that we were going to do this thing, I haven't been watching Futurama on my normal basis, so
Yeah,
my
you mentioned.
Futurama knowledge is a little off.
That's okay. The point is, it's another kind of a continuity
Like you're
thing,
a
so they're
terrible
already getting
person.
it, right? However, you could make the joke that, or the claim that maybe he still went to Bending State University after being off the
Well,
conveyor
okay,
belt.
okay.
So maybe.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Well, to kind of mend those continuity errors,
Yeah.
that's high school cap. It was a high school cap, more or less, right? Because
Yes, but then he says,
yeah.
I'm going to go bend around Europe for a while, which was typically after college, I think. But
How many friends have
fair
you
enough.
heard say that to you after high school? I'm gonna go explore the world or whatever.
Very
Not too
few.
many. Not too
Very
many, to be
few.
honest.
But I
Yeah.
mean, like, there are people. I mean, I did after high school, though I did go to university for 1 year before going abroad. But even then, when I did come
Yeah, but you
back,
never went
finish
to
my
Europe
degree.
though.
No, I never went to Europe. I went to Australia, and then I went to Asia.
Right, right.
So, like, I've been a
We went
few
to Japan for
places.
2 weeks.
I'm in Asia now, Mitchell.
Yeah, but that's like you've only been there since you were like 26, so it's not quite the same in my mind.
Okay, sure. But I mean, well, people only ever are there for a year when they bend around. I
Yeah,
say bend,
but
but
that's like
like when they
literally like
walk
right after
around,
high
right?
school is what I'm getting at.
Yeah, it's supposed to be only for the summer.
18, 19, 20 is what I'm saying. Like who did you know that did that?
Very few people. Yeah,
Yeah,
people.
I
I
can't
probably
even
don't really
really
talk
think
too
of
much
one now
else
that I think about
afterwards.
it now.
But remember this kind of stuff. People would only go for like the summer, right? That was a typical
Yeah,
typical college thing.
yeah,
What kind of fits into the theme of this episode, actually. But
yeah.
anyway, Bender sees his fraternity, and it turns out his fraternity is actually not as cool as it used to be with him, or at least in the college that he had gone to. They're all a bunch of
Yeah,
nerds. This is the introduction. Of course, we see this one robot who will pop up once in a while as Fatbot.
fat bot.
Need I say more? just Fatbot likes to eat. Very very humble, very sad robot.
Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy.
And I guess this is where we get kind of a parody of Animal House and other college films start because Bender leaves the main group and he ends up
Never
having
saw
his
Animal
own
House.
adventure. Well, that's fine. You probably saw like maybe other college films that kind of have like a trope of what's going on in this one, like
Oh yeah, they're more or
the
less all
dean
the
hating
same,
the
are they
main
not?
characters,
Yeah,
yeah, the rivalries between houses, right? Like it's all there. So, in any case, Bender will leave and he'll go on his own adventure with these guys to try and make them cool. And we'll get back to him in a little bit. We also find out Fry went to quote unquote college uh, on Coney Island in the United
Coney Island.
in New York, but A
A
dropout.
theme park. It's essentially a theme
It
park,
was a
guys.
theme
Just in
park.
case.
Yeah.
Case I forgot about that too. Being as we're Canadians, we don't really know a lot of we're above America, so we get a lot of American pop culture and stuff like that. But still,
Yeah.
like specific geological places and stuff, I personally am absolutely terrible when it comes to geology knowledge like that.
Sure. Well, Coney Island is like just like yeah, it's a park there which we see. It's connected close to New York City, which is of course where Fry grew up. But I guess the main part of it is like first of all, they have a Coney Island College, which is basically like a ride where people can put a coin in and then they can get a degree in something.
It's like a merry-go-round. No, not a merry-go-round.
Keep your arms and legs inside the thing or whatever.
A little
But
a little crappy, slow roller coaster. That's the best way to put it.
right. But Fry can't even pass that. So he dropped out of Coney Island College. Go Whitefish. However, as Leela and the professor point out, at the current academic standards of 1,000 years later, college is now no better than high school. So he's simply just a high school dropout. Which makes Fry join Mars University because he's going to prove that he can be smart enough to drop out all over again. That's Fry's mentality. Um, anyway, the beginning of this episode I think is really good. I actually really enjoy the look of Mars University, um, all that kind of stuff. It reminds me of those college days. I think it looks pretty cool.
It's awesome.
But getting back to here with Fry,
Yeah, so back to
yeah, back
Futurama.
to Futurama. If we get back here with Fry's doing his class registration, a little fun visual gag there with because you know how people would line up and they have like their last names
Oh yeah,
A
yeah,
A through Z,
yeah.
right?
Oh
And
good
then of
God, yeah.
course Z is like or Z if you're American. Z goes all the way back because like all these alien students all have
Aliens.
like Z
Yeah,
names. I
that's
thought
a
that was
joke.
pretty clever. I like that.
Did you ever have issues like that? Was your line very popular? Because I remember that because my last name starts with an M. A,
Right.
like it would go from like K to MA, and then the next one would be like the MCs, like the
Oh, Mick,
McCombs,
that sucks.
McConnells,
Yeah.
McConnors, or whatever. Like they kind of had their own
Uh,
little line to like T or something like that, and then it was like
That's a
after
good
that was
question.
like the rest
Actually,
of the
you know
alphabet.
what? I don't even remember because I did all my registration. I could get my classes online. Like you had to click them online and get them, and then you were in like a wait the wait list, so to speak, on there. So if it was like yellow or something, it was wait list. If it was green, you got in. Red was full.
Uh,
So I remember doing that online. I don't think there was anything to stand up for, as far as I remember. But yeah, I honestly I can't remember. Yeah, I remember other
I'm just saying
things.
this because like
Yeah,
summer camps and
sure. Well,
just
like even
any
for
kind of registration needed thing. I was always like in the middle, but there it's
right,
depending on the amount of people there. Like I said, like there's the MAs, like or just the M to
right.
MCs, like the mix. I find that one
For
hilarious so
for
much.
voting registrations, I can remember this. For voting registrations and such, so my last name starts with a V. I did not have many issues with that. Not a lot of people have V's as a last name. M's are
Yeah,
stupid popular.
they are.
L's are very popular.
Ugh.
And then I think W's are also very popular. So I was pretty
Wilsons,
safe. Well, Wilson, Watson, but a lot of Asian families also have W
Wongs,
names as
yeah,
well, right? Wongs,
Woos.
Woos, Wees. Then the L's also with Lee and Lamb and all this kind of stuff, right? So
Sorry, I was thinking like
yeah.
Scottish last names start with L. That's
Yeah.
where my mind went to.
In any case, we go there, but then we're also reintroduced to Amy, who shows up in the episode because, of course, she's a student. So she asks Fry, what is he going to take? And he doesn't quite know. He's still kind of deciding. And then the professor comes in, and here's another trick for you, Mitchell. Do you know what the professor's made-up class was going to be or is going
Oh,
to be called?
some kind of science of foodology or something like that. I can't remember. I didn't write it down.
Professor's is mathematics of quantum neutrino fields. He made up the
Oh,
name so that the students would never dare take his class. And we find out that it's at 5 o'clock p.m. So that's a prime time for a lot of classes as well. So, in any case, he does that. Fry writes it down, but he doesn't understand. So he writes down something like burrito fields or something. He
maybe
just doesn't
that's
know.
what I was thinking of.
It's something to do with food, right? And then we start to follow, or I guess we continue following the robots, right? So Bender's leading Robot House Error to do some old-fashioned college hijinks that you can find in these old those old parody films or those old college films.
Yeah, giving a peekaboo into the women's sororities.
The women's sorority with a what was it, a 10-foot high panty raid ladder or something, whatever he calls it. I can't
They
even
had to
remember.
buy it. Yeah,
Yeah, to buy it for that. Anyway, so they do that, and of course, yeah, all these beautiful women all like getting changed, or I think there's
yeah,
like a pillow fight, all this
lingerie,
stuff, lingerie, showers. But
all
then
the
the thing
stuff
that
that little boy dreams of about women.
right,
College
but
girl.
then of course it's not that the robots are interested in. They're into this really really old, like 1,020-year-old type of computer that
Yeah, this is the computer that our elementary school got as like a crappy gift or something like that from like a. It's like, oh, we don't need
yeah.
these computers
Let's
anymore.
see how let's see
When
how
was the last
computers
time these
work.
computers were
Yeah,
relevant? Oh, back in 1970
98.
something.
Well,
No,
98 is
God
when
no.
we would see those ones, but like that computer is not
I'm
70s,
talking about
but
when we
it's
were playing like
old.
the Oregon Trail and like that
I
old
didn't play
math Western
those.
one.
I didn't play those,
No,
Mitchell. No, I didn't.
oh, okay,
But
okay.
as far as
You're
I'm
talking about the old
aware,
Mac ones, the old Mac ones.
old Mac, but I think this is also like an old PC computer because it's square, right? Like it's
Yeah,
not
dude,
it's not round or
that
whatever.
one's from like the 80s and maybe 70s because those took the huge floppy
Oh,
disks.
right. Um, well, of course, and we can see like the insides of it. So yeah, the chips and everything when it gets pulled off, and of course the robots
Yes.
are really into that.
Yeah, when she's slapping the monitor because it's been a bad dotty robot.
A bad computer. And if
Yeah, sorry, computer.
I, 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 I think it's just kind of funny. But this is also from another college film. But when Bender is staring into it, and his eyes like grow as they always do.
Periscope.
Yeah, his periscope eyes. He did this with the Countess last episode as well. But as he does that, and then it pushes the ladder far away from the window, and they fall, and they end up falling on what is this, Snooty House, which is their rival house, I guess, for this parody. And the Snooty House is exactly what you would think, just a bunch of rich kids who are just assholes.
Oh,
I'd
Zachary.
say, yeah, like
Oh,
that kind of
Isaac.
stuff.
I
Isaac and
say.
Chet and all these old school money names and all this stuff. So anyway, they fall
Gregory.
back. They break part of their rivals' dormitories with their servants' quarters, I think is what he says.
Yep.
But then they don't seem to care. Like, oh, you squished our servants' quarters and our servants. And they're like,
I
Jesus,
say.
I say. So they run away. Now, Fry, we get back to Fry and those guys, and so Fry and Lee, they're checking out Fry's new dorm room, and Fry's a lovable idiot, but he's like, oh, pretty good for a single. Yeah, two desks, two
Two
chairs,
desks.
two beds, and then a knock on the door. Woodpecker. Obviously, it must be a woodpecker. Well, Lee corrects him. It's his roommate, and his roommate happens to be Gunter the monkey. So the professor has made Gunter I guess like yeah, some
Intelligent,
intelligency,
sentient being.
yeah, with by using this hat, I guess. So he
Yeah.
explains it's in the hat. So
Well,
Gunter,
I like his reasoning for it. It's like I made you and Gunther roommates because that way I don't have to remember one phone number.
what that's the only reason. Fun fact as well for myself, I actually use that line on people because I'm like, oh, I'm glad you guys are roommates, so I only have to remember one phone number. And they're like, we have cell phones. Like, why wouldn't you just message us? And I'm like, oh, you don't get the reference, but whatever. That's how big of a
It's a very
nerd they
obscure
were.
reference.
But I think it's still funny because I love the professor. I think he's great. But of course, yeah, Gunter, super smart monkey. The hat he wears has something that allows his brain to function the way it does, and he's super intelligent. But because of said thing, he's a jerk. Gunter's actually quite mean. He's mean to
Pompous
anybody.
ass. Yeah.
Yeah, he's mean to anybody below him.
Those
Yeah,
people who are like way too smart, they really aren't, but they are too smart, so they think they're way better than everyone because their intelligence is so high. I
exactly.
never got along with those people.
Well, I think that's the case. That's why intelligent people are typically loners, is because they don't quite get with other people. They don't quite feel connected with them, right? A lot of the
I
times.
don't think that's it at all. But go
No, it
on.
is. No, it is. There's actually like a graph for it where the higher intelligence you are, the lonelier you are because you don't associate well with other people because you cannot get into the same interests. Intelligent people tend to rank over here, like quite high, and then the normal population are quite a bit lower, so they enjoy different types of humor, different types of culture, this kind of stuff. That's why. But Gunter is just a monkey. So he's just trying to fit in with other smart people because that's what college is supposed to be. But of course, he's He doesn't know any better. Um, so Fry, Amy, and Gunter are also classmates, and they're in a class uh, together. What is this class called? 20th century history or something?
Yeah.
History of the 20th century? Whatever it is, yeah. And I part of me wishes they would invent this. They have shocking chairs whenever the students don't listen. I think that's kind of appropriate in some ways. I think it's kind of funny.
Oh yeah.
Um,
Oh yeah.
yeah,
I think the level of respect that students have nowadays in colleges and stuff are nowhere near what it
probably not
should
as
be.
good. Yeah.
Oh yeah, the amount of protests they have over stupid little things. It's like, yeah, someone need to get smacked a little bit.
Yeah.
Just a
Or
light
electrocuted
smack.
slightly in their chairs.
Or
Yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
electrocuted.
Maybe just
Yes.
a little bit, a little bit.
Yeah.
Uh,
Like that stupid game. Like I can't even remember. Ones where you had your hand on the bar and the last one had their hands off, got shocked or something. I can't remember what it was.
oh, or it just randomly would turn on the shock, so the last person to hold on to it would be the winner or something. Yeah, I kind of remember
Yeah,
something like
yeah.
that. Yeah. Now
Spencer's gifts or whatever it's
Fry
called.
is from the 20th century, but he's a moron. Gunter is a monkey
Oh
with a
yeah.
super intelligent hat from the 30th century, and he's, yeah, like I said, super intelligent. The professor asks a question because Fry, brags that he can know everything from the 20th century because he's from there. He doesn't understand what what a television does, or at least he doesn't think of the word, but he thinks of the word light bright. Did you ever own a light bright back
Oh
in the
yeah.
day? Yeah,
Yeah.
me
Oh,
too.
the
Yeah.
light bright. Yeah,
So I
yeah.
thought that was just kind of like fun little call out. And then yeah, Gunter gets it with television. People seem to respect Gunter because he's smart like that and everything. And Gunter's showing off to Fry. He does that.
Amy flirts with him a little bit, and Gunther
Yeah,
looks at Fry, going, "Yeah, that's
the
right.
winking thing, right?
Checkmate." Yeah. Ch
Oh, I suppose I should have also mentioned as well because this will come up as a future joke. But Fry does not hate people, right? Usually, he tries to be friends with people. He's a lovable idiot, but he tries offering a banana to Gunter, and Gunter has refused because Gunter's also this douche side of him where he's like, I don't eat bananas. Like, I'm not a monkey. I'm not
yeah.
one of those monkeys. I'm a better monkey. So I eat like banana flavored
Tofu.
tofu protein bars or
Yeah,
something
something
like
like that.
super douchey.
Yeah.
And
And
I
of
think we
course,
all
Fry
knew
is
people
like,
like
"I
that
don't
too.
like you."
Yeah, exactly. So
Fry
so
says, "I don't
Gunter
like you."
just hates everybody would hate Gunter essentially, whoever was normal. Um Now Fry obviously doesn't like that and he gets shocked and all this kind of stuff, but Gunter is proving that he's better than him. Now we flash again to we're meeting the Dean for the first time in the episode, and Dean Vernon,
Dean Vernon. Yep.
uh, and his obsessed hatred with Robot House, because of course he has to hate the main character. So um, they meet him. He has issues with them. He said to them, like, because of Bender, they've destroyed a bunch of crap. They've done a lot of bad things. Fatbot, because he's nervous about the Dean and what he's done to them. He eats like something that's kept him sane. So now we just get like the typical Robot House, which has been the nice classic
Robot
line
House.
of the whole episode. Um,
Yeah, he puts him on a secret probation.
right. I don't even really want to remember the whole thing, but Dodeca Prime Secret Probation or whatever it is, something
Yeah,
incredibly nonsensical. Basically, farthest or closest to the line of expulsion without being expelled. And
yeah.
that's why Fatbot freaks out and eats his model ship that he's been working on for like 8 years. So that's a fun little thing. And I do like the Dean. I think he's just stupidly hilarious. Um Now Fry's having I guess he's just
Lunch
eating
date.
lunch. Yeah, I don't know if he's on a date with the girl though. I think he sat down with her is what we're kind of getting
Yeah.
because she doesn't seem to like him at all. But he asks her out. She says no. She
Not even if you're
leaves.
the last man on Mars.
Right. Clever chick there. And she walks out, and then outside, Gunter gets her number, and then he does this fun little thing. Now, I was going to ask you this. Do you
Yes,
know where
it's
the
a reference to
reference?
Goodwill Hunting.
Yes, good with the bananas, right? You like bananas?
Apples.
How do you like these bananas, right? Yeah, that
These
it's apples in
apples.
the movie. Uh, so so yeah, Gunter's getting all the girls. He's getting all the grades. Everything's going well for Gunter, and Fry is just hating every second of it, right? Now we get a nice little time when everybody's kind of back together for a family reception later in the evening. So everybody's there with their parents, or some people are there with their
Family
parents,
orientation.
family,
Yeah.
right? And this is also which was interesting that they did this. I didn't realize it was as quick. But this is where Amy's parents are named. So we actually see Leo and Inez Wong named by the dean, or sorry, by Amy to the dean. And then still as corrupt as ever, they're there to willing to donate more money to get Amy into a better fraternity, better grades, all this fun stuff. And the dean is perfectly fine with it. So he's also very corrupt, I guess, at that point. And because it's the parents' reception, the professor surprises Gunter with his parents. His parents, of course, being
Just regular monkeys,
regular monkeys. Yep. So they're crazy. They don't, like, obviously aren't crazy around, or they aren't normal around people. Fry lets them out of their cages. They destroy the place. Um, Super embarrassing for Gunter, and he leaves. Now, this is also when we get another second with Dean Vernon doing like the robot house because Fatbot eats his portrait because they're gonna go take Fatbot in for some action, I guess, in Tijuana, something like this.
Tijuana.
I like how they say we're gonna go to a road trip to Earth. There's nothing in Mars. Yeah. We're just gonna go right back to Earth. But yeah, sorry, what were you gonna say?
Well, I was just gonna say, like, is there a Tijuana in Mars?
Well, Tijuana is a city.
Yeah, I know, but is there a Tijuana on Mars? That's what I'm saying.
I mean, theoretically there could be. Actually, you know what? Now that you mention it, there's no actual major settlements on Mars except for Wong Ranch and Mars University, as far as I remember.
Oh, I'm sure there's more, I'm pretty sure they didn't mention any though. You are right.
Yeah,
they have a whole bunch of casinos though. They have a buttload of casinos.
But that's the Wong's casino thing though, right? Like they own that.
They said out of all the casinos there's like 30 casinos and they own like 28 of them or something like
right,
that.
Yeah.
And then
so the settlements
are
the only ones, right?
Yeah.
And of course, there's also the native Martian location, I guess, as well. But then they leave, so it's hard to say that's a settlement.
Hold on. I think that's a tough one because I think the ancient Wongs bought the Mars from the Martians, and they don't live on planet anymore. They lived underground.
They lived underground. They bought it for the bead, which turns out to be the giant diamond. But that's way in the future. Right?
Giant ass diamond, yeah, bigger than a person.
And then they're gonna do something sacred with it. But for this one here, we don't really know much about that. But we'll say Tijuana is the one on Earth for the joke, because that's what they would say, right? That's what the United States would do. Now, it turns out Gunter is actually also a very normal monkey. He loves bananas. He wants to fit in. He does all these things. Right, he's been pretending to be a pompous asshole because he thought that's what people wanted to see, which is unfortunate because he's actually a really nice guy. So then
always
Fry
be
suggests,
yourself, kids.
Exactly, that's the lesson here. Fry then suggests that he goes back to the jungle. Gunter has second thoughts because he not only does he want to be smart, but he's also like it's the professor's experiment. So he's he doesn't want to be disrespectful to the professor.
It's his life work, and plus he's like a father to me.
But that wasn't your father. The guy at the punch bowl is your father. And then, of course, Fry's at this point, Fry is drinking a glass that he didn't have when he first entered the room. But fun joke as it is. Yep, fun little gag. All right. Now the next day, they're doing an exam for 20th century history. I love the professor. Professor shocks Fry after he says thank you for being proud of him, but it's actually not him.
I'm so proud of him. Thank you, Professor. Not you.
Not you. And of course, Gunter's having his midlife, or I shouldn't say midlife crisis, but he's having his little identity crisis. Panic attacks, and he's basically just drawing bananas on his test paper, which Fry copies.
I love that. And like crappily copies. Like Gunther's drawing like pretty good banana pictures, and then of course Fry's copying them, but he's scribbling so bad.
bad banana pictures. So he sees the jungle out the window. He sees the professor. He looks back and forth. He freaks out, throws the hat, and he runs. Jumps out the window, and he runs towards the jungle. And everybody's like, "Oh my god!" And then we cut to the commercial here. I guess we move on then. So, professor is sad.
I love the joke that the professor says here. Why didn't I cut his legs so he couldn't run away?
I knew this was going to happen. Why didn't I break his legs? Right, exactly. And so he's sad, and of course there's like a nice little picture for him to remember he and Gunter, but they're on like a waterlog ride at some theme park randomly. Um, and he's sad, but then Fry tells him like, oh, he told him to go or suggested to go to the jungle. They have a huge disagreement. Leela suggests that maybe we should go out there and look for him, and then maybe he can make the choice. Okay. Meanwhile, during this time, there is I wrote it down because I knew I'd forget the big fraternity raft regatta, which I guess some colleges put on if you're near a river, but they essentially have the houses race each other in their boats, and whoever wins gets some benefits. And the benefits here means they get off their little secret suspension if they're on one.
Yeah, I think that, like, you win the prize, and then the dean was like, and if any of those people are on super secret restrictions,
Yeah,
they get
probations or
off those
whatever. Yeah.
restrictions, and as well as me thanking them or something like
Yes.
that. I can't
Well,
remember.
he gets to be the head of a parade in their honor.
Oh, right, that's what it was. Yeah.
Basically, he gets to be their slave for the day or something. Like he takes away all the bad things, which of course he doesn't want to do.
Yeah,
So
so to counter that, when he has a starter pistol, he goes one, two, points the pistol at their blow up dinghy,
yeah,
and shoots
for
the
Robot
dinghy
House.
three
Yep,
for
exactly.
Robot House.
Yeah. So Robot House is at a already a bad
Disadvantage.
start, a bad disadvantage there, and Snooty House is already taken off on their like yacht themed raft. So they go after that, and somehow though Robot House is okay. They get it patched up before it blows out. So somehow they're okay. And we skip again to the others, and they're looking for Gunter. And I should save this for the end of the episode, but I think this would probably be my favorite scene of the whole episode is this scene where they're looking for Gunter and then they hear noises in the tree and they throw a smoke bomb to knock out the animal. And it turns out to be like every other animal except for a monkey in the tree, including like an elephant.
Yeah, it goes like birds, like
Birds.
a possum or something like that. A
Yeah.
tiger, white tiger, and then as soon as they, oh, it's okay, they'll wake up from this, and then they walk away. Then an
An
elephant
elephant
shows up.
falls out of the sky and crushes everything. That's probably one of my favorite scenes of the whole episode. Now they find Gunter and he's by the river and he's like looking at himself and he's whatever contemplating whatever monkeys do. And they have the hat and the banana. Fry has the banana, Professor has the hat. They offer to Gunter. Meanwhile, as the regatta is going on, the robot house is speeding through somehow, and one of my favorite lines with the, "Are you sure this is a shortcut?" And he's like, "Not as
Not
sure
a,
as I was an hour ago." And because of the wave they makes, knocks in Fry, Leela, and the professor into the water, making Gunter the only one on the shore with the hat and the banana. Um,
still, and which of which he's still having to
he
choose.
has to choose them, right? But of course, he's a monkey, so he doesn't quite understand what things
Put
are
the
what.
hat on, Gunther. Put the hat on.
Yeah. So the Robot House goes over and they end up going over
Oh, right. Sorry,
this
sorry.
waterfall. No, that's okay. They go over the waterfall, they smash, and then they break everything, but then they end up being right next to the finish line and they win. And the professor, or the dean's does his like Robot House one more time, and that all happens. But that same waterfall, Leela, Professor, and Fry are all trapped on a log overbearing on the waterfall, or overlooking the waterfall, and they're going to fall unless somebody saves them. Nobody else can save them except for Gunter, who still has to make his choice. And yes, he keeps on trying with the banana, then tries to eat the hat, puts the banana on his head, puts the hat on his butt, which Fry laughs at
Which Fry laughs at because
a
it's
couple
just
times.
something funny.
Yeah, just because that's what he does. Like he likes the simple things. And then Gunter puts on the hat, Eureka.
Eureka!
He figures it out, and then he also figures out the calculations to save them. He's able to counterbalance the weight for them, and he's able to save them, pull them up into the tree, while he unfortunately falls down the
On the other
waterfall.
side of the rope, yeah,
Yeah,
to make a leverage or whatever the word is. A
right.
pulley? Pulley. To make a pulley.
Pulley of sorts. Yeah, and it snaps while he's on the other side, and he falls. You meant to think that he's dead, but lucky for him, he survives. He lands on the hat, or I guess he lands on his head,
Yeah, he lands on his head, which is the hat
but
is on, which
smashes
breaks his
with,
fall.
right. But then because he's landed on the hat, it's only working at half the capacity, so he feels better. He feels happier with things around him. He doesn't feel like he has to be super smart and
Because it's not working at full capacity.
that's right, which the professor can easily fix, but Gunter says no. I like this kind of intelligence for it, and I guess this is a joke for this stuff. He mentions that instead of being a scientist, he's going to transfer to business school, which both infuriates the professor, but also I want to give points for the continuity of this because we do see Gunter way in the future, and he is indeed working for a company. Uh, and it actually does work out really well for him. So I'm happy to see that was continued in the future. All right, and then we finish off with a fun dance and montage with the parade that Vernon is heading with Robot House. I this song that's playing, is this called Shout?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Jump, shout, do do do,
or is
everybody
it
shout,
Jump? Is it
oh
Jump or Shout?
everybody shout. I think it's shout.
Is it Shout? Okay, Jump or Shout. I have to double check that myself. But anyway, very classic song. Many references to this type of song for that. And the montage. Um, do you remember what happens to all these people when that they show on there? I have a little bit of an idea, but do you remember what happens? What happens to Fry? What does he say?
He drops out and continues to be a bum or something like that. I can't remember.
Yeah, he goes back to his job, his dead end job or something. Gunter? What happens to Gunter?
He goes and gets his education of a business.
Do you know what he works for? This is a slight at the
Fox.
company.
It was
Yeah,
Fox or something like that.
yeah.
Because
He becomes
this
head
is
of
this
Fox for a while.
back in the day.
Yeah,
The people at Simpsons, Futurama, and I think Family Guy was around this
yeah,
time
yeah.
too.
Yep. They're all part of
They would
Fox.
constantly make fun of Fox, and the CEO or whoever was in charge at the time was he had a good sense of humor. He was like, "Yeah, go ahead," kind of thing.
Yeah, he didn't care what was going on as long as it made him money. Right. I think it was
Which is kind of how a CEO should kind of work in a way. In a
so
way, obviously
Rupert
nothing
Rupert
bad, nothing
Murdoch.
bad.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. So that was Gunter. So he became the head of Fox for a period of time. A monkey running Fox, right? There's the joke. Of course. Fatbot. What happened to Fatbot?
he went to Tijuana. I can't remember
He got a
something bad.
virus. Yeah, he got a virus. Had to be rebooted, I think is what they say. Leela,
And she somehow for some reason they had no interaction, but she went out with the dean or
they
something
have a
like that.
dance during the montage. I guess they met during the dance, maybe. Yeah.
Yeah, that's only
It's a random
maybe
thing.
that's only excuse. It's just like, oh yeah, right. Leela didn't really have much to do this episode since it was kind of focused around Fry.
Yeah.
But yeah, for some reason Leela went on a date with the dean, which is like, isn't he like in his 50s? What is Leela's age? It just feels weird.
Leela wasn't, I mean, Leela's picky. We know this. Leela's picky, but she's not as picky about certain things as she is for others, right? So, yeah, she goes out with him for a date, and then apparently he never calls again. And then Bender finishes what he was there to do to help these guys, and then he steals everything of value, and that's basically it. He runs off, and that finishes off our episode of Mars University. So, yeah, overall, what are your thoughts on this episode?
A bit of a weak episode overall, in my opinion. Um, I think there's too many storylines to kind of focus on because Professor and Gunther, that's kind of one. The Gunther and Fry is kind of one. Fry is doing his own thing too at the same time, and you also have Bender, and then yeah, throw Leela in there a couple times. It's a little
Uh, well,
not
I thought it
linear
was
either
it was
way.
mostly like it was Fry and Gunter. Like Fry was definitely the main character of the episode, I would say. But then Bender has the secondary thing, so he's the only one that's really has a secondary story, I guess,
He
like
is
switching back
separate,
and
yeah,
forth.
yeah, 100% separate, yeah.
Yeah, but I don't know. I actually really like this episode. I thought it's one of the
It's not
higher ones
terrible.
for the
It's not
show. Yeah.
terrible.
Well, I also like those old college comedies. So they
Yeah,
have all these
I can't
references.
remember
So
watching a lot of those growing up, or even in my
sure.
adult youth. What I would say,
Oh,
like
okay.
I
Well, like
don't, I can't even remember if any of it come out in like the last decade. I'll say
it's not really a trope anymore.
no.
No, I think universities nowadays have gone a different way that it used to, I think, in some mindsets. So I
Give
don't
us
think
more money, and here's a crappy bachelor of art.
no. They always used to do that. It's the mindset behind it. Like it's no longer about the idea of partying. Some people will still think that, but like the party school type of aspect, like that's no longer funny, I guess, in some for some people. I don't know. But the point is it's not really a big thing anymore. It used to be a
No,
big
it's not a genre anymore. No.
the 80s was like big time for the 80s or early 90s.
Oh yeah. Oh
Okay,
yeah.
well, so favorite scene, MVP, funniest scene. What do you got?
Oh crap! I had one, and now I forgot what it was.
Hmm. Well, I already mentioned my favorite one is with the smoke bomb and it crashing
That
and
one,
making all the
that
animals
one's
fall
pretty
out. That was
funny.
my favorite. My MVP for this episode is probably going to be. I want to say I'm going to go Bender. Professor's up there, but for me, I'm going to go Bender for most valuable character in this one. What about you?
MVP. Oof. I don't know actually. I'll stick with Fry because Fry's pretty good.
Fry's still fine.
Um,
Yep.
oh yeah, yeah. Like you said, he had a lot to do with this episode. I also
Yep.
do like that little joke that when he took a ride and dropped out of the ride and became a university
Oh, the Coney
dropout,
Island
even
College or
though
whatever. Yeah.
it was a Coney
Oh,
college dropout.
I forgot to mention as well. There's that awesome little joke when the professor's sad, and then they're talking about how Gunter ran off, and then he's like, Gunter just left his piece of paper with like feces on it on his page. He tied with Fry on his test.
That one was pretty funny.
Oh man,
Okay, I think I also like the zapping too. The
sure, sure,
zapping was pretty funny.
the Zaffin
But
portion.
I think I like the one where Fry is late for the professor's class, and that's what and like professor was like, and that's why this scientific thing will taste like grape ape or something like that.
Oh,
Grape ape is a drink in the States or something like that. I had to
right.
research that one. It's like, what is
Oh,
grape ape?
and
Oh,
he's
it's like
talking and he's
to
talking
no
to
one.
nobody
He's
in
talking to
the
no
whole
one, and
thing.
the Fry's
Right.
like, I'm sorry, I'm late. The monkey kept me up. He's like, what?
Yeah.
Shut up, Fry. This is you're my
No,
only student, and you're late.
but he's still taught. That's what's funny is that he's still talking to an
He's still
auditorium.
taught, yeah.
But anyway, no, that's fair. That's fair. Well, that's Mars University for you.
But yeah, yeah,
Alrighty, well,
definitely Fry would be my MVP, and
try for
then
that.
the
All right,
favorite
and I'm
scene is probably something to do with one of the professors, either the tree or the Fry didn't show up to his class.
sure. And I just like Bender for all the hijinks that he gets into, and his line, like I'm not sure, I'm not as sure as I was an hour ago. Like that's still pretty good for me. But yeah, well, thank you again, Mitchell, for joining me. And I guess next episode, was it here when aliens attack, episode 3 of season 2. And yeah, see you there. Thanks for joining me.
Thanks, guys.